Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this session on rate analysis. So, we've been only talking about rates. So, we've been seeing what are the things that affect rates. So, we also know that rate analysis is very important part of our what do you call as our site activities, because the success and failure of a system depends greatly on your ability to make a competitive quote, and that is where everybody wins. Whenever you are going to go for a product, the product is the same. Maybe it may be a mobile phone. Let's say you are looking at the latest iPhone of some sort, and you want the phone with the same features. So we see two things. First, who's going to provide us that phone, and at what cost are they providing us the phone? Who is quicker? Who is going to give us more value for our money? So this is a standard thing which all of us are very much interested to do. Again, in whenever we go for a project, everybody wants to know the cost, almost like off the cuff. Immediately, just tell me approximately what is going to be the cost. So we saw that we can get the cost by doing what is called as working out what are called as indices. And a very important thing is told about indices. They are valid only for a type of structure. Okay, they are not. You cannot do for any structure and say yes, this is going to be valid. No, it doesn't go like that. And then it's also very specific to the location. Okay, it can be a geographic location, it can be a what you call as a seismic location, it can be a place of where the wind load is different, okay, so on and so forth. And finally we will also be seeing that we are going to see whether the how the geometry of the structure is. Okay, so if you look at when you look at the analysis of structures, structure which is having a different geometry will have different way by which the forces are carried along the building. Now, in the previous class, we tried to demonstrate how these indices could be generated. I am saying we tried to demonstrate because we didn't find all the values. So, typically when you go for a RC structure, you'll immediately say that if you're just doing normal detailing, you will have an value of 100 kg per meter cube for reinforcement. Okay, so what does that mean? When you are doing a structure, footing, concrete, plus your columns, plus your beams, plus your slabs, plus lintels, plus your sunshade. Okay, these are the things which are going to consume the most of concrete. Okay, all of this put together, the concrete and I put together, and I find the amount of steel, it will come to 100 kg per meter cube. So you find the amount of concrete for a building, and then you multiply with this index, you get the amount of rebar. So you can say, okay, this in this I have considered 10 percentage of wastage, 5 percentage of wastage. Again, all of this is a little dependent on the type of structure. Now, when we were doing the index, when we were working on the index, we worked out slab separately, beam separately, column separately, so on and so forth. Typically what happens, you'll find that you will get about 40 to 60 kg per meter cube in footing. In column, it can go up to 240 kg per meter cube. Beam, it may come to around 150 kg per meter cube, so on and so forth for all the other elements. So, for example, we were working in material handling. So, we knew that if there is a conveyor gallery, the footing would have a certain what we call as consumption of rebar. So, we just need to multiply, because in many of those cases you find that the volume of concrete is very large. So, the rebar which is required could be much lesser. So, when we work out the designs, the thing which our boss will ask is, first thing, what is the amount of steel? you cannot say in tons, you should give it as a ratio. So if the ratio does not feel comfortable, immediately they could tell that the design was wrong. Another way of putting it is, if the same person is going to sit in a contract meeting, maybe they have been having a lot of experience in site as project manager and other things. They should be in a position to say, sir, for this particular kind of construction, when I was working in this particular project, the consumption was so much. And when I was working in yet another project, the consumption was so much. Design department had made a mistake. So this was the remedy and it cost us so much. So this is how a project manager will be looking at the same problem. But end of the day, both of them are having some kind of guiding values which are dependent on the type of project, depending on the type of material which is being used, so on and so forth. Okay, what is happening here, we are having different elements having different consumption of reinforcing steel. Okay, now moving on, we are going to see some of the practical aspects of this rate, I mean like how we use this index. So this is an approximate method of working. Okay, approximate method of finding rates. Now although I'm saying it is approximate, it need not be as approximate as, you know, getting a 10%, I mean like, you know, it can be less than 10% that a variation can be there. It need not be 40%, 50% and stuff like that. Definitely it is not like the projects which we typically are aware of. Most of the engineering projects you see, there will be either a time overrun or a cost overrun or both. And when the cost overrun comes, it's like in the order of 25 to 30% of the original envisioned cost. And when I'm talking about approximate rate, it need not be as approximate as that. It depends on how, what we call as the competent the person is who's working with these indices. Again, all these values are a range. Okay, probably I'll call upon the structural engineers who are among us to associate these relationships in all the works which you are doing. Okay, now let us look at some of the approximate methods. The first method is what I call as the square meter approach. Okay, now, or area approach. So if suppose in the last class we saw, we took the concrete, spread it over the entire plan area. So if suppose you are getting 1000 meter cube of concrete, it's a very huge amount, which is coming over say 5000 meter cube or meter square of area. Immediately, I'm sorry, this is again a ridiculous value. I shouldn't be putting so bad a value. Okay, so so let us say that you are getting let us say that you are getting 40 meter cube of concrete. Okay, and let us say that you are having an area of 200 meter square. Actually, I'm looking at something like zero point 0.5, you know, like 0.5 meter of index, zero point 0.4, 0.5 of index value. Okay, so zero point 0.4 thickness per square meter. So actually, it should come to around 16, not 200. So let us take it as 20. Okay, let us take this as 20 meters square. Okay, so immediately what happens, you get average thickness of again this is too high, 40. Let me just take 0.25 thickness. Okay, average thickness, so it comes to 10. So you will be getting average thickness of 0.25, and the area over which you are doing is 10. No. You will use 10 meter cube of concrete for 40 meter square. Okay, so when the plan area is 40 meter square, approximately you are getting something like 10 meter cube. This means your index is 0.25 meters. So let us say 0.1 meter went for your slab. So the rest of the element, okay, that is beams plus column plus footing, okay, plus any other minor concrete, the total volume you take and divided by the plan area. It means that 40 into 0.15 is the amount of concrete which you are going to spend. So you will be spending 6 meter cube of concrete for all elements, that is beams, columns, etc. And you'll be using the rest 4 meters cube of concrete for slab. Okay, so this is the way by which the indices work. Okay, now one very important thing is, when you are doing this kind of work, suppose there is a building which is so we've got a plan area of 40 meters square. Okay, so let us say that there is a plan area of 4 this can be 10 meters and this is 4 meters. Okay, this is the plan area of the building, and again it is ground plus 1. And the others the same thing. What can happen, you can have 1 meter this side, and you are going to have uh, the rest of the stuff. Okay, that is 40 meter building. Again, it's a hypothetical situation. You can see it is very much like a biscuit, very thin, very long. So in this case, the index will not be the same, because structurally this second system is not as good as the first one. Okay, now you can also have, for example, another building. Let us say it is having a L-shaped profile. Okay, the total area is the same, 40 meters square. Area is 40 meters square. However, what has happened, the shape of the building has changed. In this case, again, you have to be very careful. The index value need not be the same. It need not be the same. Same thing with, let us with any other, like, if there is some other irregularity, the thing may not come. Again, you can have a, so I hope this concept is clear. So what happens if the geometry of the plan or anything changes, your index value may change. Again, remember, if suppose you are going to go to a different seismic zone, this value will not change, because automatically you will tell the column and beams are going to become heavier. So this means that you will be again, let us say that the type of foundation changes. So maybe you are using individual footing, so you are able to get and also the soil is very good, you are able to use a small footing for taking up that load. On the other hand, if suppose it's going to be a very weak soil, maybe it's a black cotton soil or something, these indices will not work. Okay, so this is the square meter approach, which I call it as the square meter approach. The next one is the cubic meter approach. So what happens here, typically we will be using this for all the steel structures. I'm sorry, I'm drawing like a drunk. So if suppose you're having a steel structure, you will have columns, and then you will have what you call as the rafters, and then you'll have the purlins, so on. Oh, what's this? I'm taking, I thought I was taking purple. Okay, pen is not willing to change color. Um, okay, so you can have purlins and all the other bracing elements which you want. Okay, now depending on the sheet, suppose this sheet is asbestos or something, like, of course asbestos is not permitted nowadays, then you'll have to provide closely the purlins. Okay, so purlin spacing is dependent on the material. Second thing, let us say that this is having a lot of internal pressure coefficient, so the the roof is likely to be blown away, or the roofing material can break. So then again the purlin spacing becomes close. So maybe there is a huge wind load. Okay. Third, suppose you are having probably the like you can have moment resisting frames where the moment is carried and probably you keep pins at the ends. This is going to have a different tonnage over the over another end condition. Okay, so end conditions are going to matter, and so this is something which I call as the structural system. So if you see, if you go to, if you are going on the way to Chennai or many of even in your city, most of the warehouses have these portals, and they are able to span large spaces. Okay, more than the trusses. So you will find that they are nowadays not preferring trusses. You may even go for the airports. If you see the airports, they got 3D trusses. Very large spaces are being covered by 3D systems. So basically what happens, depending on the structural system which you choose, you are in a position to effect large savings. Okay, so I still remember for some of the tenders we used to like keep on working and trying to optimize. One thing if you add, something else is going to add the weight. So how are we going to overcome all of this? See, for example, when you change the end condition, the base plate which you get here will be so huge. Then again there will be shear keys which you have to design. When you look at all these elements, because see, it's not only the portal frame which is going to have the cost, all the elements, number of bolts which you use, because each bolt has a cost, number of purlins which you use, and all such have to be taken into account. And again, the amount degree to which you keep the cover in a steel structure especially determines the loads which the steel structure is going to take up. So these are all what we call as many things which you work on. So typically in practice what we do is 1 minute. Okay, right. So actually I don't know why everything looks does in a very funny way. Right, not a problem. So what we do is we always whenever we are taking a steel structure, we only go to the eave side. We don't take the ridge, because if I'm going to use a truss, the truss could have a sharper angle. Okay, your king post truss, queen post truss, and other things. On the other hand, if I'm going to use some proprietary system, maybe some castellated beams, it is all going to reduce my weight, and because of the end conditions, I'm getting some big savings. So usually, whenever we are taking the cubic meter approach, we will be taking only up to the eave side. So if suppose you're taking a RC building, you'll be taking from floor to floor and then taking the volume. Now what happens? How much steel, for example, how much structural steel was used, okay, in constructing the shed of particular volume. So what you will do, you will take the plan of the facility. So maybe there are 10 bays. So you can find the steel required for one bay, then add the end bracings or whatever bracing which you are using. Find out the purlins. Find out the purlins which you use, okay, because the number of purlins also determined is a very big factor in the cost. So you may be using purlins, you may be using sag rods, everything that goes, okay, you add it up. So that will be the total structural steel. Again, you should remember, in a steel building, it is not only the vertical bracing that is important, the horizontal bracing is also equally important. So what is the horizontal bracing we are talking about? So if you are seeing in elevation, these may be the columns. So you will be tying a few of these columns. So the gable end, again you'll have a few more facilities, because a door will be there. Whatever is the steel which is coming, add it. Put it as structural steel divided by the volume of the building. Okay, so how will I get the volume? This will be the breadth of the building, and this will be the length of the building multiplied by the eave side. Okay, now suppose you are if you are going to, so this is a structural steel building. What is structural steel? All your hot roll sections and whatever is the associated stuff with it, we will call it structural steel. So typically when you go to site, when they say structural, it's a structural work. Although concrete building is also structure, we typically call it as civil works. So anything related to concrete will be civil works, and whatever is related to this one, structural steel, will be called structural work. Okay. Now moving on, what happens is you will also need to find out what is the amount of like there will be a pedestal, there will be a footing pad. So all of these things also have to be taken into account. So here whatever is the steel, usually these are the rebars. So here again you will get a kg per meter cube of rebar. Okay, and for the structural steel I will prefer to do it as in terms of volume. So many times what we do as a check, we will divide the structural steel by the floor area of the facility. So both these indices should match. Okay, and how are these indices got? So we will be considering all of these things. What is the material of roof? Okay, and then what is the wind load on the structure? What is the structural system? See, here I have just shown a very simple what we call as a warehouse or stuff like that, but you also have many what we call as the technology towers, which are, you have many of the technology towers which are there in many of the facilities. So technology buildings can be will be multi-story, and like if you go to a junction house or a power plant, you'll find that there will be many levels. Okay, so here what happens, usually there will be a conveyor which will enter the top, there will be a hopper, then there can be a screen. So after screening, another conveyor belt will there will be another hopper, then the another conveyor will take the material onward outside the building. So it will be very high, and also it will have many floors. Now what is happening here, because there is a conveyor belt coming in, you will have a h by 1000 limitation on the deflection. So again, this is a technical part. So whenever there is a deflection, if you are going to have say a 60-meter building, 60 by 1000 meters is the allowable deflection in that particular direction. So what happens is your bracing system automatically becomes heavier. So when you do the design, you have to ensure that all the requirements are also satisfied. So it means that for a shed, there will be a different index. For a technology tower, there will be a different index. So like we have things like crusher houses and so many other things where a lot of vibration is also going to take place. So we also need to consider our design in such a manner that vibrations don't affect the structure, and indirectly what happens, the amount of steel you used in a particular building increases or decreases. So do about a few 10 or 15 structures in a particular zone, automatically you'll be able to get a good understanding of what these values should be, that should be used. Okay, now I'm not going to boast and say that I know all these indices. It has been quite some time since I touched any of these structures, and to be honest, I'm not able to remember all those numbers. So that is why I'm not deliberately giving you any of these values. But if you are going to be in practice continuously, you will be definitely be in a position to kind of just throw these numbers. Of course, like I cannot say that I don't remember it. It's just that I don't want to tell you wrong figures in this forum. Right. Now moving on. So any questions on this? Any questions on this particular thing? Okay, let's say okay. Terence Sichiro, any questions, Terence? Terence, are you around?
Hello, sir.
Yes, do you have any questions, please?
So far, no questions, sir.
Okay, so we saw two approaches. Now, we have seen two approaches. One of that was reducing everything to floor area, other one was putting it in a cubic meter. Whenever you are going to go, you will usually check both these numbers, whether the kg per square meter is looking correct, kg per meter cube is looking correct, or if it is going to be concrete, is so many meters of concrete per square meter looking okay, or so many meter cube per meter cube of concrete, that is meter cube of volume of building divided by so many meter cube of concrete per meter cube of building. So you will develop such indices and then check whether what design you are doing looks correct. Okay, we are not saying that it is going to be absolutely correct. There can be some variation, but the point remains that you kind of you kind of make sure that your values are not too off the number of choice. Okay, now let us see this. We know a lot of things in design. So then what happens is maybe we can consider only one portal frame. if you design one portal frame, you can multiply it for the required length. So let us say that it is more than 100 meters. Immediately you'll say, okay, let me keep a extra bay for expansion joint. Okay, so like this you take some decisions, and then also you can find the quantity of steel. So for one item it is so much, or for 1 meter of laying road, for example, this is the material. For doing 100 meters of bridge, this is the requirement of concrete, therefore for one. And then again, remember, in the rate analysis, if you see, everything is further reduced to unit value. Okay, so the third technique which probably people use is to keep what we call as the finding for one unit. Okay, so for example, when you look at, for example, hostel room. Okay, so I am going to say have say 1,000 rooms. What is the cost of one room? So this will also be yet another way by which you work out cost. So it can be that in a steel structure you take one single bay. Okay, you'll only take this bay, find the cost, multiplied by the number of bays, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bays are there. So immediately you say, for one so much is there, for 5 this is going to be the cost. So you can do for one bay. Okay, one bay of structure. So for example, there was a limestone shed which was being done for a project, and that was a very long structure. So when you are doing such a huge structure, even the order of saving a few very small kilograms per meter cube of building has a very huge impact on the cost. So we were trying to optimize and see how much we can gain for one bay. Okay, and then we extended it for the entire structure. So other thing is, maybe for one unit, or like for one room or for one apartment. So if you know the cost of one apartment, for 1,000 apartments or 100 apartments, what is going to be the cost? So this is yet another way by which you can find the cost. And you will again see there's another way by which we can work out the indices. Okay, the indices can also be worked out by using the BOQ. What is BOQ? It is a bill of quantities. So we will take bill of quantities of similar work. Okay, again a very important thing, it will be a similar work. Again, it should be in similar conditions. Similar conditions like the seismic condition, the wind load, and so on and so forth. If suppose it is not the same, no problem. Take a factor to cushion yourself. So the seismic zone is, it is in a more adverse zone. So maybe I will take a 20% margin. So maybe somebody else will say, no, 20% is too high. Why do you want to take 20%? So you can argue this way, that way, but end of the day, you can very easily compare the values which you got. So I still remember when we were working on tender designs, you don't have the actual design and you don't have the luxury of time for doing the entire design and then working out. So what we will do, we will very rapidly do analysis. Okay, we are not saying that analysis and all is not to be done. After you do the analysis, you look at all the finish items which are there. It might be pouring concrete as a topping on steel deck. That concrete also has to be accounted, right? So you do all the works and then you get a number. Again, you will compare it to the kg per meter cube of work which you have already done, or meter cube per meter cube of work which you have already done. If the values are matching, take it, go ahead. Then what we used to do, compare it with similar projects. So the good thing about being in an organization, a large organization, in a department which was only focusing on one particular business, was we have a lot of information on past projects. So the past mistakes, these were missed out. So because we didn't take into account the quantity of concrete for roads, we lost this much. Again, you see, the old BOQ is helping us to know what are the items we are likely to miss out. Another very interesting thing, like what is the impact of forgetting to take the quantity for street lighting. I know you may be laughing at me. What is this? How can anybody forget the quantity of street light or quantity for drains? It can be very silly. But then, when you are going with a BOQ, you kind of get a what you call as you are very less likely to first and foremost use a wrong index, because already these works have been done. The other thing is, forget the index. You may have actually forgotten very many items of work itself. So this is another thing, like when we enter into a business, probably we don't know everything, and that is where a good boss is very much required, or what we call as a experienced boss, a boss who knows the business. Okay. Now, other thing is, from relative costs also you can find out. Okay. So again, you can look at what we call as inflation. So when you go to do a work, when you did 5 years or 10 years ago, the cost is going to be somewhat lesser. Okay. And now when I'm going to go for it, there might be some increase. Okay. So again, this is a way by which we are trying to figure out basically rates. So although here I've been talking about indices which kind of give the quantity, I'm slightly taking a deviation by talking about relative cost. So if you do it in one geographic location, the cost is different when compared to yet another cost. Okay. So basically, I think these are the main things which we need to focus upon. Okay. Now, there are certain other things also which I should say we should take into account. See, other costs. So, what are the other costs? For example, each technology used has a cost. Okay, maybe you are using a crane. Because you're using the crane, you are reducing the number of physical manual labor which is being done, but this technology comes at a cost. One of the companies where I worked had a license for when they had a patent for urea, so they licensed the process. So the technique, and you may have to get some license to probably use a particular system. So that cost also has to go in. Maybe it can be like a IoT system which is going to come, a futuristic IoT. Somebody has a license, maybe you need to use that license. So all these are having costs. Then beside this, for getting approvals, you need to get cost. Whenever you are doing an index, always remember that you need to look into these aspects also, because when you are having an index for cost, for example, the cost of doing one room, hotel room, is say 10 lakh rupees. So that 10 lakh rupees should have included all of these things. In case you missed one thing, say air conditioner, for a 5-star hotel, nobody is going to excuse you because by mistake you let out the air conditioner. Okay. So this means that for each of the other things, you need to ensure that the costs are taken into account. See, for example, if you're doing work in a very remote area, you need to get enough security. The other thing is, there may be some extra wages asked by the people, otherwise they may not be willing to take that extra risk. So on and so forth, you have a lot of other items also which are going to come in. Okay. So these are probably some of the things which you guys need to think about when we are going for a rate estimate. Okay. Although it might be approximate, you need to ensure that your rate, the analysis which you are doing is reasonable and justifiable. Reasonable so that the cost doesn't go much beyond a small percentage. Okay, that shows your competence. Okay, and moving on, I will probably stop at this point. So we tried to see two kinds of estimate of rate. Okay, very important methods probably, as I said. One, the you will develop indices for say quantifying the material in terms of kg per meter cube, or depending if it's concrete, meter cube per meter cube of building, or meter cube per meter square of building. For a steel building, it can be some kg per meter square and kg per meter cube. There is a correlation between each of these values, and with experience you'll be able to correlate it. And when you do your work, you can also cross check if suppose the values are coming within range. Okay, so one side is the quantity, the other side is the cost. So you can use also BOQs which you have done in the past. You can take the past bills and see so on and so forth, just to get confidence on whether the values which you have done is correct or not. And other important thing is finding for one unit. So you may find the cost for doing one bay. So just for doing one bay, this one bay I'm having a cost of so much. Now what happens, there are two such um, vertical bracings in this particular system. This you can divide it among the other two bays also. Okay, so that means you will be able to get a more reasonable cost. So like this, when you keep on doing structures, okay, please remember that the purlin, side guts, then the whatever is the I mean, like maybe it's a sag rod, all these elements also have a cost element associated with it. So please ensure that these are all taken into account. Okay. Initially, in the initial stages, you may not be able to understand all the items which are there, but as you go on in the practice and as you do similar structures, you will gain experience.
About cubic meter cubic meter approach.
I'm sorry, Alan, you need to speak up a little loudly, please.
Approach, and in that we will consider the material spring load act to the structural system.
Okay.
Next, you told about finding for unit like, uh, for finding how to find the so to estimate by estimating a single unit.
Okay.
For example, we'll find the rate for one room or something like that. We'll find them for BOQ. We'll to find bill of quantities. We'll refer to similar work and similar conditions and all.
Okay.
Then other cost will include technology for licenses and approvals, securities, such.
Okay. Anyway, friends, see, in conclusion, what we are seeing is that we have many ways by which we can get an approximate analysis of rates. Okay, so rates depend both on quantity as well as the specification. So once you know both of these, you are in a very good position to work out the rates. Okay, because typically when the volume is large, you get discounts. So the larger the volume, the more is the discount which you get when you are looking at the input cost itself. So when you are going to, like if you're only going to multiply the quantity with the cost directly without taking into account some of the strategic advantages which discounts offer, your company is likely to not get many of the jobs. So you need to be a little street smart when you're fixing the cost. Okay, so please consider all of these things as the foundations for your way you work in site. This is one of the very important things which you'll be working on. Okay, finding out the rates, and I mean you'll be finding out the quantities. You'll be comparing the quantities with similar work, get a feel that what you've done is right. Again, you'll be needing to get some costs and again put them as some indices and then work. Depending upon the business you go to, all these values will change. I was in material handling, I was in petrochemical, and also did some multi-story buildings for residential and school and stuff like that. So in each of these businesses, the index, the way the index is calculated is the same. However, the values you get for all of these values will be, for all of these indices are going to be different. Okay. So if you have any questions, I'll be in the chat for another 5 minutes or so. Please feel free to ask your questions. Otherwise, you can, if you don't have questions, you can leave. Thanks a lot for joining. Bye for now.